On this episode of the podcast, I'm going to talk about lunch, opinions, and also mental health. We're going to have a brief discussion about that. What do you think about this aesthetic? I wish actually with a little bit more light in the background because you can't really see my head. It's pretty dark, but it's sort of, I don't know, I'm still figuring out, I think, this lighting. Anyway, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Luke Who's Talking podcast with me, Luke. How you doing out there? Hope everybody is okay. Hope everybody is all right in this, interesting world of ours currently. Anyway, whatever. Possibly more on that later. Anyway, whatever. Now, let me get into the first story here for you. So, we're having some work done at the house. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before. If I haven't, we're having some things done at the house. So, we've got tradies making noise and putting dirt on the floor and all that jazz. Anyway, so on Friday, I think it was, last week sometime anyway, I can tell you that with confidence. Might have been Wednesday. I don't know. It was recent. The builder, well, it was about lunchtime, so it was about 12:31ish, and the builder was in the kitchen, and I was just there, and he's like, "Yeah, I've got tongs. You got a pair of tongs." So I got him a pair of tongs. I could sort of hear this like sizzling happening, and I was like, I wasn't really taking much notice. Anyway, I gave him a pair of tongs, and so that's fine, that's great, and then I went to the front door because he went out the front. And so I sort of went to investigate this sizzling. And the builder, he had a gas hot plate. And he was cooking a steak for his lunch on the front doorstep. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you cooking a steak for your lunch? It's ridiculous. And he's like, whatever. And anyway, so he came in and he had a tile he used. So he got a tile, or an offcut of a tile, put it upside and put it on the table, put his pan on said tile. So that was like a bit of a placemat, whatever. So so the hot, what do you call it? The hot pan didn't burn a hole in our magnificent table we have at home. Have you ever been to my house? Some of you have. You'll know how good our kitchen table is. So he put his hot pan on the tile. And he had a steak, and he also had bought a couple of chicken kebabs, but he'd taken the chicken off of the stick, so he cooked them as well. So he had chicken, and he had a steak. Now he didn't have a knife, so he just pretty much ate his steak with his hands. But he did use a fork for the chicken pieces. So I was like, he's got a little bit of class. Well, got some very mild manners, I suppose you could say, but but yeah. So I was like, I was like, why are you having a steak for your lunch? I was like, it was not ridiculous, but like borderline ridiculous, I thought. Having a steak for his lunch and cooking it on a doorstep. But I do admire the kit, having a I mean, it was obviously planned, it wasn't spontaneous, but he had a hot plate and a pan so he could cook his steak. He just didn't have any tongs. But and he got the steak from the local butcher as well, so that's good, supporting local business and all that jazz. But it's just totally bizarre. And I love asking questions at times of a listener, and I honestly very rarely get a reply. So why not? But also, have you ever had steak for lunch? Like during your work day? What is the most, I don't know, interesting, unusual thing you've had for your lunch? I don't know. Send me an email on that. Anyway, let's get into the next story. Welcome back now. Well, actually, this isn't really a story. This is more of a opinion piece, could I say. Now, as some people may know, some people may not, I don't know, but the Tour de France has been on, recently wrapped up just about 2 weeks ago or so. Excellent, fine. It's, I suppose they've done, or they good job, I suppose they've done a good job, did a good job to even be able to have the race on in the first place. But, we're not going to talk about the issue, could I say, of sports being played, or if that's appropriate or not. That's for, I don't know, another time. I'm not going to talk about that. However, I am going to talk about, so when the cycling was on, fine, I got on YouTube and I would see suggested videos, because I watch cycling videos on YouTube. Okay, so YouTube knows what I watch. Spoiler. But I was getting some videos of Lance Armstrong. And I didn't watch any of these videos, but I was getting videos of him, in like a podcast or something. I don't know, talking to somebody. I assume. I think it was in the title, like reviewing the day's stage or talking about the particular stage that had happened, and I didn't watch these videos because, I guess, firstly, not overly interested, I guess, really in that. But secondly, because Lance Armstrong was on there. Okay. Now, as you may know, Lance Armstrong, 7-time winner of the Tour de France. However, he did so, and now this is not an allegation, everybody. He's admitted this, and there was his investigation, etc. He won said races whilst on the juice, right? He was on the gear whilst he was doing all this, great stuff. With when he was cycling, when he was racing. Okay, so he is a cheat, right? He's a cheat. So my thought was, why do I want to watch a video of a cheat, person who has cheated? Why would I want to watch videos of him talking about, a race he, had, quote, won 7 times, but, did so whilst on the gear. And I did actually one night, I did think, I was like, what is he saying in these videos? Is he saying, my brain was like, he's saying, oh, well, they need to be on more drugs. They need to be on more gear. They'd be able to do this better. But, I've thought, why would I want to watch? Now, this isn't necessarily, I'm using this as an example. But just generally, though, why would I want to take the opinion of somebody who admittedly, yes, has done these things, but is and has been disgraced, or has been found out to be, a cheat or whatever. It's like, I guess, maybe taking financial advice from somebody who has laundered money or whatever. I mean, why would you do that? It's not credible information. It's not credible stuff. So why would I want to be taking the opinion and listening to somebody talk about a particular thing that, was, quote, their profession, but it's not credible. I don't find that credible. at all. If it was a rider who had done the race, who had won the race or whatever, or maybe, heck, maybe haven't even won the race, but if somebody else was on there who had, say competed or was a cyclist or whatever, but, wasn't also on the juice whilst, doing these things, that's a lot more credible. Because why? So I just thought, and also this is really petty, but Armstrong used to be on ads for Trek bicycles, and Trek bikes look very nice, they're very good, but I'm like, but I don't know if I'd buy one though because of him. Right. I mean, that's unfair to everybody who works at Trek, who builds their bicycles and whatever. But I'm like, why would I buy a Trek bicycle, for example, like because they, supported him. So, yeah, and also it's a bit of a flow-on effect, I suppose. Do you think that companies that were associated with people who have been disgraced or aren't credible people, do you think that hampers them? That's a bit of an opinion piece. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Send me an email, tweet me, or whatever. Say, yeah, I'd like. I really like beanies, but I'm not going to get one because Bandrew always wears one in his podcastage videos. I mean, and he's uncredible, maybe, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. There's a thought. Couple of things here. Maybe you could, I could get some feedback on, dear listener. Would you listen to, this example that I've given you? Do you think that's fair? Like, is that not credible opinion? Or like, say, somebody who laundered money is like, oh, well, so, given financial advice. I mean, is that credible? Would you find that information credible? Those opinions credible because of whom is delivering them? And also, would you buy a product by a company or whatever that were associated with somebody who has been found out to be, scandalous in their particular profession? I don't know. Thoughts on that. If you want to give me some. Anyway, we'll be back after this with some heavy stuff. Wow, it's very delayed. This. On the camera and on the app. It's like it's slow. Anyway. Welcome back, everybody. So we're going to get into something a bit more heavy now. A bit more heavy. So I have been just, I guess, maybe mentally recently, well, for maybe a little while, not great. There was, I guess, maybe something happened, I don't know, I guess late, sort of early August, late July. And I think to say it's tipped me over the edge is probably a bit dramatic, but this particular thing happened. I wasn't happy about it, and that sort of escalated into me thinking and having some thoughts, I guess, on where I am with things generally. And that has led to just really, basically, I guess, is that currently better than what I was, but just currently not really happy with life at the moment. And I will say that what is going on in the world has nothing to do with how I'm feeling. It hasn't affected, or hasn't influenced, I guess I could say, how I'm feeling, or my feels and thoughts in any way. And so, as I said, this thing happened, and I just sort of thought, well, wasn't happy about that. And, I had a little bit of a think about, or was thinking about some other things, and, I guess really, I probably thought, or assumed, I don't know, probably thought I'd probably be in a different, I'd be in a little bit of a different area, or I would have some things maybe in my life that I don't have at this point, and that sort of stuff. And I sort of thought, well, I don't, this, I guess I don't have this thing, or this thing hasn't panned out. That doesn't make me happy. I'm not in this position with things. I'm not really happy about that. I don't have all this, whatever's not happening for me, and I'm not really happy, in regards to that. And, some other things. But, look, I will say I have also given some thought about, well, if I did have some of these things in my life that I guess I could say I strive for, would that make any difference, or would I still be feeling how I am currently with life? I'm not really sure. I don't know. So I have talked and had some conversations with my doctor, for example. Well, yes, with them. It's not an example because it happened. With them about, I guess, how I'm feeling. And we had a discussion about the possibility of maybe going and seeing a psychologist. That was something that was thrown out. That's not something that has happened. That is, it's possibly something that will happen. And I'm sure if it does, which I think, it's a good chance it will. If that is something that happens, after a while, I will, most likely talk about it here on the podcast. But, so that's just sort of, I guess, a bit of background, something in the background. I think it's something that's been brewing for a while. And I actually talked to a friend about some of this, and they said that they sort of thought, when I said to them, I don't really know if I'm quite happy with things or happy with life at the moment, they said that that they thought that this year's been like the year of bitter Luke, as it were, something along those lines. They use that sort of terminology, but sometimes it's like doing the podcast. I do find it a bit. It's like a bit of a chore, a bit of a task. I've not stopped it though, but that's just some thoughts I've had at various points. But so look, if anybody out there is feeling a bit, I don't know, unhappy, or maybe have some similar feelings, I would suggest to most definitely see somebody and tell them. Write it down, maybe how you're feeling. Think about why you think you're feeling how you are, and then also I guess you might be like, I'm not happy because I don't have a hat, and just sort of think, well, if you had a hat, would having a hat make you happy or not? Because that it's how I've sort of been tinkering with a couple of things. Is I thought I might have had this, or might have had this in my life at this point, or blah blah blah. But I have you sort of given some thought, and I guess toyed with the idea of, well, if I had those things, would that make any tangible difference? Reality is probably not. But yeah, anyway, so that's just that stuff. Deep. Anyway, I'll be back to wrap it up. I have my ooh. Nasty. Welcome back, everybody. Now, thank you very much for listening to this episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And look, there's something you can do for me, and that is just listen to the podcast. If you like the podcast, share the podcast. Then that's it. If you want to, go for it. You can do that, and that'll help, hopefully, spread the podcast. I want to spread the podcast like how you spread butter on like toast, like real nice, like a good spread, not a bad spread. You don't want like a clumpy spread. It's got to be smooth, consistent, and good quality. Anyway, everybody, once again, thank you very much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you've enjoyed it, of course, share it, like it, all that jazz. You can send me an email, luke.who'stalkingpod@gmail.com, or tweet me, L_who's talking, and for you video viewers out there, I'll see you later. And if you're an audio listener and you want to and you want to watch me jazz hands or whatever, you can hop on over to YouTube, Luke Who's Talking on YouTube, because it's video now. Whoa! Anyway, thanks everybody. I'll see you all. Let me just get that lined up there. See you all next time.